Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Madhumai Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Nati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Guru. All glorious to Shri Prabhupada.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way of communicating pure devotion to others. Thou art not to the lotus feet in great wonders. By his grace one can cross the ocean of tears of suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is how my conscience is still purified and the word is emanating from his lotus mouth. that which is the correction of difficult times. He opens my dark eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord by the love of God. From him ecstatic remains, by him the universe is destroyed. Made sufficient of his character, our spiritual master is friend and the poor and the master of liberties. O master, be merciful unto us. He loves to shake and loves to speak. The things that God with yours, he shall come to us. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sign. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Swami. Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Swami. Samad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girivardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Etavaneva lokesmin. Punksam nikshri. Yasodaya. Divrena Bhakti-yogena. Manomaya.
So for everyone's convenience, the class is Canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 25, Text 44, The Glories of Devotional Service, Bombay, December 12, 1974.
Stiram Etavaneva lokesmin Punksam nikshresodaya Divrena Bhakti-yogena Manomai arpitam stiram. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in intensive practice of devotional service. That is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life.
Etavaneva lokesmin pungsang nishrayasodaya Tibrena Bhakti Yogena Mano Majyarpitam Sthiram. This is the conclusion of Bhakti-yoga. Kapil Dev has explained Bhakti-yoga. In the last verse, we have discussed Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti-yogena. Bhakti-yoga is not the business of the foolish or ignorant. One who is advanced in Jnana Vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. Another name of Bhakti Yoga is renunciation. Vairagya Vidya. Bhakti Yoga means the education of renouncement. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explained Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam. Yes. The Bhakti Yoga begins when we accept Krishna's instruction, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, Mamekam Saranam. We have to renounce all nonsense engagement. That is called Sarva Dharma. We have accepted everything as dharma, samsara dharma, grihastha dharma, raja dharma, samajik dharma. There are so many we have created, and we are still going on. Dharma means function, characteristic. So we are planning one after another, various plans to be very happy in this material world. But they will not make us happy, that's a fact, because this place is certified by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Dukkhalam Asasam. This is a place for misery. This material world is a place for misery. This body is meant for suffering miseries. And the land is meant for suffering miseries. That we do not understand. But we are placed in a miserable condition all round. That is material life. Dukkhalam asasam. But we have got attachment for this material happiness. Even it is dukkhalam, it is very much painful, miserable, and we are making plans how to become happy here. This is called struggle for existence. It is going on perpetually. We are making some plan to be happy, and it is dismantled by the laws of nature. You study the whole history of the world, it is simply struggling. We are making some plan to be out of miserable condition, but it is causing another miserable condition. Therefore it is called Daivijjisha Gunamai Mama Maya Durutta. This is Maya. We are simply planning to overcome some problem, some difficulties, but it is becoming more difficult. This is the fact. Therefore, our determination should be to renounce this association of this world. That is called mukti. Renounce this material association and come to the spiritual platform. Because we are spirit soul. Our real place is spiritual platform. Our activities should be on the spiritual platform. Then we'll be happy. The same example as I have given many times, that we are animals of the land. So if you are put into the water, then however expert swimmer I may be or you may be, it is simply struggle for existence. There cannot be any happiness in the water. But if you are taken out of the water and put again into the land, then you get relief. So that is the position. We have come to this material world for sense gratification. The more expertly we make plan for our sense gratification, it will never be successful. So we have to come out of these material activities and act on the platform of spiritual life. That will make us. Therefore it is said, Ekavaneva lokesmin pungsang nisreso udaya. Udaya means rising, just like Surjodaya. In the darkness, at night we are in the darkness. In the morning there will be Surjodaya, and then there will be light. So, this is conclusion that in this material world we are simply struggling for existence with a hope, future hope, that we shall be happy by this plan, but it will never be possible. Simply you will be bewildered, just like the animal goes to the desert and he sees mirage a shadow of water in the desert. He's thirsty, he goes to the water goes again farther away. And he jumps over in this way, being thirsty, and in the hot sand he dies. This is called Maya Marichika. Our struggle for existence is like that. We are thinking, let me go a little further and we shall be happy. But actually, where is the water? There is no water in the desert. But those are less intelligent, like animals, they seek happiness here in this material world. Just like the animal running after water in the desert. Maya Marichika. So these attachments, this false attachment has to be given up. And that is possible when we engage ourselves in the Bhakti-yoga. Bhakti-yoga. Itavaneva lokasmin pungsang nisresa udaya tibrena bhakti-yogena. Tibrena meaning very seriously, not superficially. Tibrena bhakti-yoga. Krishna wants to see that whether he has finished his all material desires. Then he is very much pleased. He says, Sarvadharman parita. Sarvadharman means we have created so many dharmas. That is not dharma, that is dharma. We generally become so-called religious for artha, for money. Dharma, artha. Artha, money is required. Why? For sense gratification, kama. And when you are dissatisfied, then you want moksha. Therefore, we are actually busy with 4 kinds of activities: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And above these, when we go above these, then bhakti begins. That is the beginning of bhakti. That wanted. Nishraya. Shreya. Shreya means ultimate good. There are 2 things, Preya and Shreya. Shreya means ultimate good. If you act in such a way that ultimately you actually become happy, that is called Shreya. And if you want immediately some happiness, never mind what it will be in future, that is called Preya. So, less intelligent person or children, they want Preya. They do not want Shreya. A child is playing whole day, he likes it. That is Preya. And if you want to send him to school to be educated, he doesn't like. Because that is Shreya. Ultimate good. So nobody is interested. Still, the Shastra gives us an instruction that you try for the Shreya, don't be captivated by the Preya. Preya and Shreya. And this Shreya, the supreme Shreya is Bhakti-yoga. Therefore it is said that itavaneva lokasmin pungsang nishresa udaya. Shreyasa and nishresa. Nishresa means ultimate. Nishresa udaya. As soon as you take to Krishna consciousness, then your ultimate good or ultimate perfection begins immediately. And this Bhakti-yoga means Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasam Sakhamatma Nivedanam. These are the 9 different processes of Bhakti-yoga, of which the most important thing is Sravanam, hearing. Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. And about whom? About Vishnu, not for anyone else. That is Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Everything bhakti means devotional service, loving devotional service for Vishnu or Krishna. That is not any other service. That is not bhakti. Bhakti, the word can be used only in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. It cannot be, if you say, I am Desha Bhakta, I am very devotee of my country, of my society, of my family, of my cat, of my dog, that is not applicable. Bhakti is not applicable anywhere except in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. That is bhakti. Therefore, Shastra particularly says, Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu, not any other Savanam Kirtanam. If you say that I am hearing about my country's welfare, about my society's welfare, about humanity's welfare, and I am preaching this, that is not bhakti. That is Maya. It is very difficult to understand. But if you talk about Krishna and hear about Krishna, then your other services will include. It is all pervading. Just like one is interested in the flower of the tree. If he says that I shall water the flower, because I am interested in the flower, or I shall water the fruit, but that will not help you. If you water on the fruit or on the flower because you are interested, the fruit also will dry and the flower also will dry. But if you water on the root of the tree, which carries the fruit and flower, your fruit and flower automatically will live. Similarly, if you render service to Krishna, bhakti, then your so-called social service, country service, family service, everything will be perfect. You don't have to endeavor separately for social service or any other service. Therefore it is said, Tibrena Bhakti Yogena, without any deviation. You don't think that if I simply become devotee of Krishna and worship in the temple, then what will happen to my country, what will happen to my family, what will happen to me, so many other things. That will be automatically served. If you serve here Krishna, then you will give the best service to your family, to your society. There are many instances. Just like Prahlad Maharaj was giving service to the Lord and his father was very angry and there was very much misunderstanding between the father and mother and the father and the son. Ultimately the father was killed by Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj saw it. But does it mean, superficially it appeared that Prahlad Maharaj did wrong because his father was killed before him? Suppose if your father is killed before you, and if you stand only, you don't speak any protest to protect the father, who will agree with your endeavor? Nobody. Everyone will say, you are such a coward that your father was killed before you, you did not protest, you did not try to give any protection. This is superficial. But actually, the son Prahlad Maharaj was giving the best service to his father. Best service. Because in the Shastra it is said that if a person, if a demon is killed by God, he immediately is liberated. Even though he was not liberated, thinking that he was very, very sinful, of course, he was liberated, but Prahlad Maharaj was thinking that my father was so sinful, so much against God consciousness, he might not be liberated. So, therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, when he was requested, when he was rather offered any benediction he wanted to take from Nrsimhadev, he refused. My dear Lord, please do not induce me in that way. I am born in a family, demonic family. To gain some material profit is my natural propensity, and you are the offerer. You are offering me. I can take anything from you, but this is not my business. Because I have rendered service to you, it does not mean that I will take some remuneration for you. This is business. Bonik, sabai bonik. This is mercantile man's. But I am your eternal servant. I do not expect any reward from you. But that Prahlad Maharaj, later on, he asked Nrsimhadev, my dear Lord, one thing I may ask from you. What is that? Now, my father was atheist number one, and he has committed so many offenses at your lotus feet. Now he is killed, so I want that he may be excused and given liberation. So, he was already liberated, still, as affectionate son, he was anxious to know whether my father is liberated or not. So, this was confirmed by the Lord, not only your father, his father's father, his father, his father, up to 14 generations, everyone is liberated. Because a Vaishnava son like you is born in this family. So my point is, by serving the Supreme Lord, one gives the best service to the family. Because if one becomes a Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava, the whole family, up to 14 generations, they become liberated. Therefore, tibrena bhakti yogena. We should not divert our attention for any other service. We should simply concentrate for rendering service to the Supreme Lord. This is the conclusion. Tibrena bhakti yogena mana mai arpita. Mai unto me, the Supreme Lord. Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness. Always thinking of Krishna. Maya. That will help. Tibrena bhakti yogena. Always. That is also advised in Bhagavad Gita. Manvana. Manvana bhavamad bhakta. Your mind should be engaged always in Krishna. Krishna or Rama, and which form you like, Vishnu form, or Lord Vishnu, Narayan, Kapil Dev, there are innumerable forms of God. Advaita Yachiti Anadi Ananta Rupam. So, Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Krishna, Kapil Dev, Balaram, there are so many forms. So any one of them, whichever you like, everyone is just like Hanuman. He liked Ramachandra forms, and Arjun liked Krishna's form. But there is no difference between Rama and Krishna. Ramadi murtishu kala niyamena tishtan nana avatar makarat bhuvaneshu kintu. Sometimes foolish people question us that you are worshipping Krishna, why you do not worship Rama? But Rama and Krishna, there is no difference. But anyone has got his liking. Just like Hanuman has liking to worship Lord Ramachandra. And the gopis has the liking to worship Krishna. That does not make any difference. It is like Jijathamang Prapadda. Krishna, the Lord, appears in different way. Sometimes the gopi, the Krishna went away from the gopis. And the gopis were searching out Krishna. So in some place, Krishna was sitting in the Vishnu form. So the gopis passed through that deity and they did not offer much respect. Oh, he is Vishnu. All right, namaskar. Because they wanted to see Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna and Vishnu, but every devotee has got some inclination. They love Krishna. Ramadi murtishu kala niyamena tishtan. So therefore Krishna is all pervading in different murtis. Therefore in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, some of them they worship Radha Krishna, and some of them worship Sitaram, and some of them worship Lakshmi Narayan, some of them worship Rukmini Krishna. There are so many devotees, but all of them are the same, Vaishnava. All of them are, but not demigods. Vishnu, so chanting Bhakti-yoga means to chant Vishnu. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu. And Vishnu has got so many forms. So either you chant Hare Ram or you chant Hare Krishna, it is the same. There is no difference. Sometimes they first of all place Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And sometimes they place Hare Krishna, Krishna. There is no difference. Sometimes they say, no, it should be Hare Rama first. Sometimes they know Hare Krishna. But that is not very important, childish. Either you say Hare Ram or Hare Krishna, the same. So this is to be done. Tibrena Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga begins with hearing. Savanam Kirtanam. And if you have heard from the right source, and if you are convinced, then automatically you'll try to perform Kirtan. Kirtan means glorifying. If you have attained life, or to preach. Anyone who has listened from right person, authority about Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, about Krishna or about Rama, you'd like to preach that. That is automatic, glorifying. That preaching is equal. That is called Kirtan. Kirtan, simply preaching, glorifying, or speaking about the Lord, that is also Kirtan. And performing Kirtan as we do here in the temple with Mridanga and Kartar, chanting, that is also Kirtan. Sukadeva Goswami explained Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj simply listened to him carefully. This is Savanam Kirtanam. Parikshit Maharaj is hearing and Sukadeva Goswami is performing Kirtanam, describing all the glories of the Lord. That is Kirtan. So, Sri Vishnu, Savane Parikshit, how one devotee became liberated by performing one item only. There are 9 items of devotional service. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Bandhanam Dasam Sakham Atma Nivedanam. So, Parikshit Maharaj simply listened, Savanam. He did not do other things. Still he was liberated. And Sukadeva Goswami, he simply chanted or described the glories of the Lord. He also became liberated. Sri Vishnu Savane Parikshit Abhavad Vaya Sakikitami. Similarly, Samanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Prithu Maharaj, he was simply remembering, Prithu Pujan. And Pada Sevan, Lakshmi Devi, she simply gave massage to the Vishnu's lotus feet. And Arjuna, simply he made friendship. And Hanumanji, he simply served the order of Lord Ramchandra. Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam, offering everything. Bali Maharaj, whatever he had, he gave to Vaman Dev, everything. Whatever he possessed, even his body, he gave to Vaman. Sarvatma Sapane, Abhavat Bali Maharaj. So there are different examples. So, if you simply, at the present moment, in this Kali Yuga, if you simply hear about Krishna, Savanam, you don't require any education. You don't require to be PhD and MSc. God has given you the ear. You go to a person, realized soul, and hear from him. Simply hear from him. That is recommended in this age, because people are very, very fallen. They have no education, they have no inclination, how to make perfect life. They do not know what is perfection of life. They think if I can eat sumptuously, that is perfection of life. Udaram bharita. Sartham udaram bharita. In this age, if one man can eat very voraciously, he thinks my all interests are finished. He thinks, because people are so hungry that they think if I can get a sumptuous food, that is perfection of life. This is Kali Yuga. Sartham udaram bharita. That is stated in this one. One will feel that my all interest is now fulfilled because I am voraciously eating. So, we are hearing. This is one thing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this process. That whatever condition you are, it does not matter. You simply search out a devotee and hear from them. That is it. Your heart. Sthane sthita sutigatang tanuvang manovi. Sthane sthita. And you, whatever you are, there is no need of change, because it is very difficult to change position. Better remain your position, but you hear about Krishna. That is our movement. Krishna consciousness movement is to give chance people to hear about Krishna. So many ways. Then even Krishna is Ajita. Nobody can conquer him. Simply by hearing, you conquer Krishna. Krishna will be very, very intimate friend of you, simply by hearing. That is said also in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sinnatang sakatha Krishna punnat sravana kirtanam. Sinnatang. Sinnatang means hearing. Krishna is within everyone's heart. As soon as he sees that this man is hearing about him, Sinnatang sakatha Krishna. Krishna is the subject nominative, Sinnata, when he sees that a person is interested in hearing, then he takes care of him. Because that is the beginning of bhakti. Sinnatang Savata Krishna, Punna Savana Kirtan. Even if we do not understand, the philosophy, what Krishna says, still if we hear, then he will be purified. He will purify. That is the process of Hari Sankirtan. It doesn't require anybody to understand what is this Hare Krishna. But if he simply give him the chance of hearing, he becomes purified. That is one. Because without being purified, nobody can understand what is God, what is my relationship with God, who is God, what does he do, what is his name, nothing interesting. Dirty things within the heart, they cannot understand. Dirty things on account of sinful life. Namanga duskitanam mudha prabhaddante naranama. We are so much in this age engaged in sinful activities. And the sinful activities are generally, the four pillars of sinful activities are illicit sex life, meat eating, intoxication and gambling. This whole world is now full of all this business. There is regular gambling house, there is regular intoxication centers, regular slaughterhouse and regular prostitution. This is the whole world. Which are sinful life, illicit sex life, meat eating, intoxication and gambling, that is prevalent all over the world. You'll find organized by the government. This is going on. And within this dangerous condition of the human society, we have to push on Krishna consciousness. How difficult it is. Just imagine. But still, it is going on. But so many obstacles. But we do not care for these obstacles. We must push on. This is our determination. Therefore it is called Tigre Bhakti-yoga. Tigre. There may be so many obstacles, but you must push on your movement. Tigre Bhakti-yoga. That is our duty. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I thought we'd just go through the translation again, just to remind everybody before we go into the purport. And what I wanted to actually do is just go through a few points that I actually picked up on and a few questions that I had based off of that, just so that we can all just really delve deeper into trying to understand the purport and what not the purport, but the lecture that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So the translation for Canto 3, Chapter 25, Verse 44. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. That is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. So, in the initial stages of the lecture, Srila Prabhupada talks about how Bhakti-yoga means renunciation from material association. And he also talks about how we've created so many different dharmas, family dharma, society dharma, etc., to create material happiness. for us, but we actually don't see it a lot. What happens is that we end up suffering. But the question I have here is that despite the fact that Srila Prabhupada has just mentioned that the laws of nature dismantle that happiness that we get, we find that even when we're practicing devotional life, even for many years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes we look at the materialists and we think that they seem happier than us. So what's actually going wrong if we're practicing devotional life but we still feel like the materialists are happier than us? Approach.
It's a bit like Hiranyakashipu. He thought he was happy, and but actually, in his sense gratification, but he lost the plot, as they said, because through austerities and all these things and power, they were finished within a moment when somebody plucked out his heart. And what is very interesting, that Hiranyakashipu was also a devotee, but he'd been cursed to come down to the material world. And yet, as a demon, he was saved by another devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. So, devotees will save devotees in the end. Or even demons seemingly are demons. And the thing we have to be careful is our illusion is that that somebody who's done naughtiness in their ISKCON career, no, it's not finished. Somehow or other, they'll come back and another devotee will deliver them. So devotees deliver devotees, even the most fallen devotees when they come back. There's a rescue plan that Prabhupada has devised in ISKCON, that actually that we can be rescued by each other. It's not all lost at the end of this life, even though we've done a misdemeanor, that somehow there is that other thing that we have lessons to learn in each lifetime, and maybe another devotee will deliver this fallen soul one day. So it's a very interesting prospect.
Thank you, Prabhu. So is your point more of the fact that actually they seem happier, but it's all just temporary, and we, within our devotional service or devotional life, might have got something, we might have a certain few conditionings in us that is stopping us from attaining that sort of happiness that we require, or aiming for in life?
But the point after that was really that I was a demon in my last life and this life. And I've been saved by another devotee who introduced me to Krishna consciousness. And if I don't complete it, it's not lost. Because there's yet another devotee, maybe connected, will save me again. It's an ongoing process until we've reached the final goal. So devotees will always save devotees, ultimately. Even if we come back, it'll be another devotee that saves us.
Thank you. I think Vishakamathi had points.
Yeah, you mentioned that after 5 or 10 or 20 years, the non-devotees appear happier than the devotees. Yeah. So my question is, how are you measuring happiness?
I'll leave that as an open question. Right. I'll leave that as an open point. And I think that's kind of where I was leading to as well, because in material life, if we look at the externals, then they might appear happier, but then temporary aspects come in. So I'm happy to hear your view on what the differentiation is between material people appearing happier than us as devotees. In that regards.
Well, that would come to the question again, what is the measurement of happiness? Is it the pictures on Facebook that they're smiling? I mean, is that, or how many, the house that they have or the car that they drive? We have to have a measure of happiness to be able to compare. So you implied there was a measure of happiness, so my question is, what is that measure?
Yeah, so personally, when I'm looking at it from that angle, then yeah, I see it as, okay, if we look at the externals, material people on their Facebook pages, Instagram, whatever it is, social media in general, they'll put these nice photos where they're all smiling, they're doing amazing activities, skydiving, I don't know, bungee jumping, or whatever it happens to be, right? But they're always smiling. And then in devotional life, we might be going along with the process, but we're struggling because we're like, oh, I have to chant my rounds, I have to read, I have to do this, that, and the other sometimes.
I guess one thing about happiness is whether if it's happiness in what mode of material nature it is in, mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. So for the materialist, it's a short burst of happiness. For those in mode of goodness, it's more maintained, more longer duration.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I think Prabhupada distinguished between Kriya and Shreya. So this idea that the child wants to play all day, whereas actually the child needs to go to school. So the devotees engaged in Shreya, which is the ultimate good, but in the temporary situation, the ultimate good might not be the most, essentially pleasurable, but it's the only way you can actually be happy.
Yeah, thank you. The other term that comes to mind is Japaloshuka, where it's just flickering happiness, because they might be happy for 5-10 minutes, but then afterwards they just go through the suffering. Whereas we as devotees, as Padma Prabhu was mentioned, we're actually aiming for a higher purpose, higher sort of goal, higher sort of happiness, which we might feel like it's not happiness today, but ultimately as we practice the process, we go through it, then we realize that actually we're much better off than materialists. So the second point I had was around the whole acting and service to society, family, welfare, etc., where Srila Prabhupada was actually quite direct, whereby serving them can be pretty much Maya, whereby we're thinking that, okay, this is good for them, so we're going down that route. And I was just reflecting on this point, where in yesterday's Bhakti Shastri session, we were going through akarma, vikarma, and karma. So akarma is like more transcendental sort of activities. Vikarma is creating creating impiety, and karma is creating material piety. So the thing that I was really thinking about and reflecting on this is like the whole aspect of service to family, friends, society, etc. is all based on consciousness. So the question I actually have here is, how do we actually cultivate that mood whereby we can serve our family, we can serve our society, we can even engage in humanitarian work, but actually develop that consciousness that this is for Krishna, not for the people?
Is that verse? Trinadapi suni chanatari vasashnuna manina manadina kirtani shadar. It said one should think oneself lower than the store on the street. It's the humble position. And then it says one must be more tolerant than a tree. So whatever inconvenience we have in our devotional life, and give all respect to others. And the one thing is all respect. We have to appreciate how we've been looked after by our parents, and even if they're not devotees, we have to give them all respect for the things that they have done for us. We treat them in such a way that we can still say there is still affection I feel for you, and it doesn't go away. The affection's still there, but you can express that affection You know, you sometimes you have to excuse yourself. You say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're just following a spiritual path now. I don't eat certain things," but at the same time, you're so kind to me. Express an appreciation for that person who's brought you up. So it's a position where we should give all respect to others, knowing where they're coming from, and where we've been cared for. You know, just to be grateful for seeing through the eyes of thankfulness, rather than, oh, they're like this, and resentment. Do you see what I mean? That they're not following what you're doing.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. And Srila Prabhupada does go on with the example of Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu as well, around how Prahlad Maharaj obviously was in that predicament where his own father didn't appreciate him, but he was always constantly thinking about how to deliver his father as well. So he was grateful for his father bringing him up and giving everything that he had, but he was also very compassionate from that angle, whereby he realized that what his father needed was that spiritual aspect, which unfortunately he didn't take up, but through his passing by Nrsimhadev, by being ultimately liberated by Nrsimhadev, he got that. So thank you. Any other points on that one?
From your question, I think of the verse, work has to be a sacrifice for Vishnu, otherwise work binds one in this material world. Chapter 3, text 9. Therefore perform our duties for his satisfaction and remain free from bondage. So it's a question of being educated to know who to be conscious of while we're doing our apparently mundane activities.
Thank you. I'm just conscious of time. I'll just end on one final one. So at the end, Srila Prabhupada talked about the 9 processes of devotional service and how he gave a lot of examples where certain devotees have practiced one specific path, whether it's Shravanam, Kirtanam, or Adhisivanam, etc., and they've attained perfection. And then he goes on about how in this age, like the one thing that we should be doing is hearing. But then we also get told, and we hear about how the Yuga Dharma is actually to chant the holy names. So how do we reconcile the two together? Sorry, I know these are like really thought-provoking questions, but I think it's nice to actually think about these.
I know, all I know is that when you do deity worship, I've always been taught this. I don't know where the reference is, but I've always been taught this. When you do deity worship, it's not complete without chanting of the holy names.
That's a nice point actually, because we should be chanting in whatever activities we do. That's one thing I've heard as well. I think David Prabhu had a point on this.
Hare Krishna. About the holy names, that as it's right is that the holy name is non-different in Krishna, and when the holy name that it descends, so we hear the holy name, and it automatically it will chant. By itself it will manifest.
That's a nice point too. So just by hearing, we'll internally chant the holy names as well. So ultimately, by hearing Krishna's pastimes or the holy names, we're internally going to be chanting them, therefore performing the Yuga Dharma as well. Any other points? I think Mataji had.
And we can't chant before we've heard. We have to hear the holy names, the Maha Mantra, in order to be able to chant them. So the sequence is quite logical.
That's nice. I think Mataji also had a point.
Krishna, thank you very much. Actually, listening empowers you to chant more properly and more sincerely, and chanting sincerely empowers you to listen properly, and they are kind of really very much connected. And yeah, this is the same actually. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah. So one thing that I shared on a retreat that we actually went to, and this is something that I meditate on a lot when I'm, trying to chant, is that actually part of chanting, we can chant the holy names, but if we don't appreciate the holy names, we don't appreciate the fact that the holy names are non-different to Krishna, then we can never actually chant with the full capacity, with the full power, potential. And I think part of it, for me at least, was that by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, by serving Krishna, whether it's deity forms or any of the other 9 processes, we actually chant better. Because we develop that relationship with Krishna, we develop that relationship with the holy names. And so in doing that, even though the Yuga Dharma is chanting all these other processes, and I think personally the part of the emphasis of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about hearing is that, as David Prabhu said, we're basically naturally inclined to chant what we're hearing. Because chanting is not just the Maha Mantra, it's also just glorifying the Lord in itself. So yeah, really powerful points. I can open it up to any other questions, comments, or reflections people have. If anybody has any? Okay. In that case, I think we can end class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhaktivedanta Manor ki jai.
What they say to back, what they say to Gita, it's not funny. It's not nice to do it, it's not fun and bad. Well, maybe don't like what I do the same thing to you. Do it to him, I'll do it to me. So you won't do it, and we're going to do it to you. Do it to him. Or just do it straight to you. So just do it to you straight away, and I won't mind it. Or you can either watch it, you
Was bad. it's Christian. Yeah.
So all when we have nothing quite fast, but it's all synchronized.
What? Haribol? No, not really. You're going to be looking for it.
Somebody picked it up, thought it was somebody forgot it. Okay. Let's just get something tame.
No, he hasn't knocked it.
Oh, because I forgot to take it.
But I saw keys there.
Yes, I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram